Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Silverman, co-founder of Commerce Next. As you may know, we're a community event series conference for marketers at retail and DTC brands. Today, welcome to today's Commerce Next webinar, Inspiring Digital Experiences Shaping 2025. We all know customer experience is a key area where retailers and brands can differentiate themselves. We have some amazing perspectives to share with you today from some great brands, and our aim is to inspire you with new ideas and how to get them implemented. As always, we'll be taking your questions, so feel free to load them up during the presentation. We'll explain in a moment how to do that. A couple really important thank yous. First to our webinar sponsor, SCAYLE. They've been amazing to work with. Really appreciate them being a part of this, and we cannot do these webinars and share all of these great perspectives and insights without the support of our sponsors. I want to thank the Commerce Next team that's in the background helping to make this go smoothly. Alan, Tracy, Corey, Rob, Jenny, and Veronica. And then I want to thank all of you for joining us today. We love bringing our community together for these regular webinars. So first, I want to mention a couple things that are coming up at Commerce Next. On Wednesday, March 19th, in a couple of weeks, is our next webinar, How Smarter Personalization Drives Sales by Keeping Shoppers Hooked. And that includes Kristen Darcy. She's the CMO at True Religion, Dana Schwartz, SVP at Keen, and Marilyn Montoya, the CMO at AB Tasty, and moderated by my colleague Alan Dick. And as many of you know, our big e-commerce growth show is coming up June 24th to the 26th in New York City. It's only a few months away. Mark your calendars. Registration is free for retailers at scaled retail and DTC brands. We also still have room in our travel program. This provides up to $1,200 in travel reimbursements in exchange for participating in the one-on-one meeting program. It's going to be our biggest and best show yet. We have 4 fantastic keynote speakers that are already lined up from Wayfair, American Eagle, and Sam's Club. You can go to commercenext.com/conference. We'll also put the link in the chat so you can go straight and register if you're able to do that. Some housekeeping I want to mention: if you missed any of the past webinars or last year's growth show, you can find them on YouTube. There's more than 500 videos covering any topic you can consider related to digital commerce. It's a great resource, and Carrie has a link for you in the chat. So as far as the agenda for today, we want to just get you up to speed on the webinar platform so you can make the most of today's webinar. Then Tarek Müller from SCAYLE and About You is going to be presenting his presentation. We have, as usual, some audience poll questions, and then our panel discussion with Coach, KENDO Brands, Anshuman, and SCAYLE. So as far as the housekeeping notes go, recording, so don't worry if you missed anything. You will get a link by the end of today or tomorrow, and then you can also find it on YouTube. And just want to go over a few elements of the platform functionality of BigMarker that you're using. So there's 4, if you look in the upper right, there's 4 tabs: chat, Q&A, polls, and handouts. You can use the chat if you want to communicate with other attendees, if you want to make a comment on something you heard or compliment the speakers. The polls tab, we'll be using those a little bit later. We have some audience polling questions to hear what you're thinking, and you'll see the results, the open polls and the results there. And then the handouts tab is where we have today's presentation that Tarek is giving, and you can download it from there. And then one of the best tools at your disposal is our Q&A tab. We, again, really want these to be interactive and want you to participate and ask questions. If there's anything that I'm not covering, you always have the opportunity to do that. And even if you don't want to ask a question, there's a mechanism to upvote So if you see other people asking questions that you think are interesting, you can upvote them. That helps us see which ones are priority and make sure that we get to those. And then lastly, if you're watching this on replay, you'll note that the handouts are available. You can click on the highlighted document icon that's in the video player. So with that, I am excited to introduce veteran entrepreneur Tarek Müller, who is the founder of both About You and SCAYLE. Fun fact about Tarek is he founded his first online shop at the age of 13. I'm not sure anybody else on this webinar can say that. If you can, that's pretty cool, but Tarek certainly can. So with that, please join me in welcoming Tarek.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Scott. Yeah, indeed, with 13, that's already 23 years ago. So I've been in that industry for quite a while. I'll say a couple of words on digital experiences we have implemented on About You, and then my colleague Jeff will introduce SCAYLE, which is actually the technology that fuels About You as well as 200 other online shops in the world. Maybe you don't know About You because it's only active in Europe, where SCAYLE is active globally with also an office in the US. So more on SCAYLE in a minute. What is About You? About You was founded 10 years ago, so it was not my first company. My first company was already a little bit earlier. I founded About You 10 years ago, 2015, and grew it to 5 billion in GMV, which I would say is quite sizable. We also took the company public in 2021. It's profitable, and we are selling fashion to a European audience, mostly women. What we are doing is we are a combination of a retailer and a marketplace, so kind of a hybrid model, like Amazon in the supply sense. We have more than 4,000 brands on our platform, as well as exclusive own label brands and celebrity corporations. We do celebrity corporations with both national as well as international celebrities. A couple of US celebrities we have worked with is, for example, Kendall Jenner, Bella Hadid, Millie Bobby Brown, Emma Roberts, and many more. And they're usually driving traffic to our platform, as well as more than 1,000 influencer corporations that we are running every month. And then users on our platform will find a large assortment consisting of more than 4,000 top brands, in total more than 800,000 products to be sold on About You. It's mostly on the smartphone, so roughly 90% of our revenue comes from the smartphone, mainly from our smartphone app. And we have a very vibrant community, more than 42 million monthly unique active users, with more than 75% or roughly 75% of them coming organically to our platform. So the goal of About You is basically to invite users to not only visit About You when they are in need of something, but also to use us a little bit like a fashion magazine, get inspiration of our platform, and then often find or buy something out of an impulse. I brought a couple of examples in terms of customer experience and inspiring digital experiences we have recently built. Obviously, we've built a lot of things, so I've tried to kind of drill it down to a couple of things that work really well for us. A couple of Gen AI examples, one hyper-personalization and one social commerce example I brought with me here today. Starting with Maya. Maya is our shopping assistant. We have launched Maya, I think, 9 months ago. Maya's built on Gemini. It is a ChatGPT-like LLM, so you can find Maya on our app next to our search. You can talk to Maya and you can chat with Maya. And you can, a little bit like in ChatGPT, obviously, can ask Maya questions or ask Maya for recommendations. What Maya is capable of is basically everything that Gemini provides, combined with training on our own product set. So we have basically uploaded our product catalog and have enhanced our product catalog. And then Maya has access to your personal data and your customer history on About You. So Maya will know what are your favorite brands, what are the price points you're usually buying at, what are your sizes, and everything that is basically available in our customer account. Now Maya can summarize chat history to outfits. So you can basically ask Maya things like, hey Maya, I'm invited to a wedding in Italy next summer, and the dress code is boho chic. And Maya will understand the prompt Italy. She will know, okay, Italy is usually warm in June. She will understand boohoo chic and kind of interpret that dress code, and based on your own preferences can then make suggestions. Maya has been introduced 9 months ago. We see an increase in usage of the users, and we also see an increase in performance of Maya. So obviously when we launched Maya, I would say 50% of answers were great, 50% was shitty, and it is massively and it is significantly increasing day over day what Maya is capable of. And I actually believe that something like Maya, so an AI-enabled shopping assistant, will be standard in most online shops within the next 12 to 24 months. Two other examples we have implemented in the AI world is a sports bra size finder. So users can upload an image of themselves in a sports bra, and the image is being analyzed and measurements are being taken, and then based on these measurements we can make recommendations based on the fitting of the actual picture we got from our customers. So it understands what happens in images, and it can recommend products and services based on that. We have seen a significant increase in conversion rate and decrease in returns based on that feature. And then another great feature we've just recently implemented, I think actually 4 weeks ago or so, is a virtual fitting room. So on our article detail page, on not every product, but on a lot of products already, you can upload a picture of yourself, as you see on that example of that blonde woman there, and then it will be scanned, and then the product that you see on the article detail page will be mapped on the picture of yourself. So it is a bit of a augmented reality virtual fitting that you can do. And here we saw another increase in conversion rate and decrease in return rates. And two more basically backend features around AI we've implemented recently is one, a coding assistant. We are employing 500 developers and giving them access to the co-pilots and AI assistants has shown massive productivity gains for developers. And then the right-hand side example is another, I would say, cost efficiency lever. So we've implemented a customer service chatbot based on LLMs for our first level customer service. Just to give you an order of magnitude, we are spending roughly 25 million euro per year on customer service. And here we've seen that at the moment we can answer 40% of our first level customer service requests by a chatbot, obviously much faster and at 5% of the cost than of a human. So this has led to already savings in the millions while improving the customer experience because customers get an answer much quicker. So here I would say another cool example that is more in the cost efficiency area around AI. One example of personalization we have seen great results with is getting away from discounts that are for everyone and on everything. So this typical 20% on everything, basically we have replaced that with what we call a coupon wallet. So every customer on About You has its own coupon wallet, and on that coupon wallet a customer finds on average 3 to 5 coupons, and these coupons are personalized. So they take into account your churn probability, they take into account what you've bought last time, they take into account your shopping pattern, for example, if you always have low AOVs or high AOVs or whatever. And then based on these attributes, you get personalized coupons in your coupon wallet. And with this, we have seen a massive increase in conversion rate while we are decreasing the cannibalization of profit contribution. So basically the incrementality has increased in terms of what orders we are generating, obviously, since we are trying to push coupons that create incrementality or cross-selling rather than just cannibalizing profit contribution by discounting something on an order that the customer would have made anyways. And the last example around social commerce, I think that's absolutely nothing new, which is live shopping. I mean, live shopping has been around in e-commerce since 10 years, I would say. But now with TikTok Shop, we are seeing, and we are doing live shopping since 5 years, but now with TikTok Shop and the rise of TikTok in general, I would say, we are also seeing an increasing interest of users on a shopping destination to consume live shopping. On the left-hand side, you see a video, how that works on our platform. So you can see the live show. You will always be able to click on the products that are presented. So that these girls are presenting these products that you can see here. And then you can click on a product, and then the live shopping show actually goes to a mini screen, and you can basically shop in the online shop while having that live show still in a mini screen. Here you can see the mini screen now, and now I could basically choose my size and start shopping or I could go click back on the live shopping show and then go back to the live shopping. We believe it's a really cool thing. It's real time, it's interactive, inspirational. We have made really good experience with that, especially working with smaller creators, actually, them just launching that live show at their home at very low cost. And here we're seeing great return on investments, actually, especially if you do it kind of low costs with smaller creators, but at quantities. So we are launching a lot of shows every day. To summarize my key thesis here, one is AI will increase conversion rate, efficiency, and customer experience in a massive way. I think this is something that in the midterm cannot be overestimated. I do see already today that we are seeing great results on the features that I've presented. And there's just so much potential going forward for improvement. I think we are really at day one of the AI wave being introduced to e-commerce. And I do believe this will massively increase e-commerce penetration and customer experience. Secondly, hyper-personalization. I just brought one example here. I mean, personalization is something that we have worked on since 10 years, and we have seen great results in every aspect. But also personalization around couponing, smart promotions, loyalty, I think is something that works quite well. And then lastly, online shops are more than just a shopping destination. We strongly believe an online shop has to provide inspiration and advice. Here, things like live shopping or things like Maya and LLM shopping advisor can be very helpful. All right, with that, I would hand it over to Jeff introducing SCAYLE.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tarek. That was a great overview of About You and some really compelling front-end experiences that are happening there. Thanks, Scott, for having us on the webinar today. I am Jeff Katurba. I lead sales for the SCAYLE team here in North America. And 2 weeks ago, I went onto the About You site and I was talking to Maya and asked her for a recommendation for today for what outfit I should wear this webinar. And I went with corporate conservative. I am wishing I went for boho chic instead. I feel like it would have been more fun. Anyway, I'll take the next few minutes to tell you a little bit about SCAYLE and how we're differentiating in the market. And this is all about driving both business value and tech value from an efficient and easy to use platform. SCAYLE is a complete platform for everything from PIM and e-commerce, search, marketplace, checkout, order management, all built in-house. So we're enabling you to have efficient business users that can manage their lives from one panel, but also from a tech standpoint, ensuring that this is modular and composable, that the developers are able to implement the latest features and functions that are driving the experiences that Tarek was talking about for About You. So SCAYLE, of course, is the underlying engine for About You and is what is giving them the flexibility to have those great customer experiences. On the next slide, where SCAYLE sits in the market, we believe that there is a better way to do things today. I've been selling e-commerce products for 20 or so years, and the most common complaint I hear from my clients is that it's hard to do their jobs, that commerce is painful, and often I point the blame at the tech stack. So there had been traditionally two options in the world. One is the monolith, the all-encompassing solution that has everything you need but no flexibility. And then more recently on the microservices side, you see the mock-based approach where you have infinite flexibility, but you need to essentially recreate the wheel. So with that flexibility comes great cost and high developer count. And many retailers have implementations that last multiple years, and they end up having a staff of 100 engineers that is not tenable. We think in the middle there's an approach called unified and composable that takes the best of both sides. The complete solution that the monolith had, but the flexibility and agility that the microservices would have. And with that, we are going to market with a solution that drives business value, drives efficiency, but it gives you the flexibility you need to stay current and modern and provide those compelling user experiences that Tarek has talked about, and the rest of the panel will in a minute. And then next slide, wrap up on this. You heard a bit about you, but many of the other industry leaders within Europe are already on the SCAYLE platform, the world's leading luxury department store, Harrods. Not only are they in 160 plus countries, they're doing great innovation on the front end around their loyalty program, driving consumers to come back and shop after many times. Tremendous increase in their uplift after going live on SCAYLE before last holiday. We also have the world's largest football club, Manchester United, providing everything from a jersey configurator to a great game day experience, very high volume, very high scale. And then Deichmann Group, which is the largest footwear retailer in Europe, doing $8 billion in revenue across 8 brands and 4,500 stores. The US folks might know Snipes, but everyone within the Deichmann Group is standardizing on SCAYLE to provide a consistent experience both online and in store, omni-channel integration, buy online, pick up in store, personalization, driving you to the right shoe, making sure that the fit is good. Those are just a few examples of the 200 or so client sites that are on SCAYLE. We're now here in the US and expanding our footprint after the success we've had in Europe. Appreciate all of the opportunities to speak with you, and would love to share with you how SCAYLE will help your brand achieve great things as well. So with that, I'm going to pass back to Scott and carry on with the panel.
Hi, I'm not Scott,
Yeah.
but I do play him on television.
Mm-hmm.
So Scott's having a couple of little problems here. We're going to wait till he gets back on. But Jeff, thank you very much for talking to us today. All right, let's take a look at our polls here. Got a couple of questions I think Scott wants to ask. Number 1, how well is your entire organization aligned on key pillars of an outstanding customer experience? The question again, how well is your entire organization aligned on key pillars of an outstanding customer experience? Are you A, very aligned, B, somewhat aligned, C, somewhat misaligned, or D, very misaligned? Looks like 50% of you are very aligned, 35% are somewhat aligned, and just a minority are somewhat misaligned or very misaligned. Very good. Nice to see everyone's organized. Let's move to the second question. Hey, Scott, you want to pick it up from here?
I will. So
take it away.
Our product detail pages, checkout, search, navigation/design, customer support, or mobile/app experience. Search is number 1, about 41%. Number 2 is product detail pages, and number 3 is checkout. It seems like navigation, customer support, and mobile app experience are not being marked as areas for a lot of improvement. So, all right, why don't we close that one and go to our next question that is teeing up our next webinar that is in a couple weeks on Wednesday, March 19th, how smarter personalization drives sales by keeping shoppers hooked. And the next question there is, how would you like AI to enhance your customer shopping experience? Select all that apply. And the options are providing more accurate product recommendations, delivering personalized customer service and chat support, creating dynamic AI-driven pricing or promotions, generating hyper-personalized content and messaging. E is other, and you can put the detail in the chat, or F, the last, is you're hesitant or you just don't want to use AI for personalization. So hyper-personalized content and messaging, that's actually number 2. Number 1 is more accurate product recommendations at 35%, and then generating hyper-personalized content and messaging at 28%, delivering personalized customer service and chat support is number 3, and creating dynamic AI-driven pricing or promotions is number 4 at 17%. So, all right, good to know. We're going to be touching on some of these questions in the panel discussion. So with that, I would like to bring up our panel. All right. Anshuman, Becca, and Sarah, thanks for joining us. Great to have you here. We really appreciate you being a part of this. We couldn't do these without our speakers and all of the knowledge that they share. So thank you so much for that. All right, so why don't we just start with some introductions? Just let us know a little bit about your brand and your role in building customer experiences. So, Anshuman, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anshuman Taneja. Over the years, I've had various digital and tech leadership roles. Most recently, I was at Gap Inc. as their SVP and Chief Product Officer. And my responsibilities were product management and the experience design practices across all brands for both customer and associate-facing experiences. And then prior to this, I've worked at other major brands and retailers, Rotelli, which is a multi-brand grocery retailer, American Eagle, Abercrombie and Fitch, and Walgreens. Stoked to be here. Happy to share the stage with Becca, Sarah, Tarek, and Scott and offer up my 2 cents.
Great. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Morphis. I lead e-commerce and digital marketing at KENDO Brands. So KENDO Brands is a incubator for brand beauty brands. So we have Fenty Beauty, Ulla Henriksen, KBD Beauty, some of our brands. So I lead the direct-to-consumer experiences, CRM, everything to drive sales.
All right, and Becca.
Hi, everyone. I'm Becca Mignanelli. I lead the Coach e-commerce business. We have 2 websites here at Coach. We have coach.com and coachoutlet.com. So lead both of those teams and really the full end-to-end customer experience and all of that amazing stuff.
All right. Well, Tarek, we already were introduced to you, but I just want to say thank you for your presentation. An extremely impressive application of AI and about you, the examples that you gave. So I think everyone was interested to hear about that, and they can ask questions to you if they'd like to during the webinar. So for the first question I want to ask ask you each to talk about a new or an improved customer experience that you built recently that you are proud of. So why don't we'll stick with you, Becca, if you could start us off there.
Sure. We have really spent the last 15 months or so doubling down on our site experience. And we started, of course, with mobile, as that's the majority of our traffic, but totally whiteboarded our mobile PLP and PDP experience. Desktop fast follows. But we really sort of took a step back. And I think over the years after the pandemic, a lot had changed, of course, in the e-commerce business. But we sort of pulled our heads up about 1.5 years ago and realized we had so much on our site within the PLP and the PDP, which is the majority of where our traffic lands today. And we had so much information on there, just kind of accumulating over time, that eventually we kind of were trying to say everything to everyone and therefore saying probably nothing to anyone. So we totally whiteboarded the approach and really took the ethos of focusing and simplicity. We did a ton of customer research. We would come up with mocks of PLPs and PDPs and put them in front of real customers, our target audiences, and ask them what they thought and what they truly needed for information upon land within their mobile experience on those 2 destinations. So I'm really proud. The team worked tremendously hard with our digital product team, and our, what you see on site today, if you go to either site, is truly transformed from where it was 1 year ago. Again, trying to hit on those what information the customer needs upon land, and then as they double click into their journey, continuing with the information that they might need to facilitate the path to purchase better. But that was really a huge focus area for the last year for us.
Awesome. So Anshuman, you want to talk about something that you recently built that you're really proud of?
Yeah, and I'll draw from my past experiences. Most recently at Gap Inc., my team, in concert with our data science counterparts, we built review summarization that launched for Athleta last year and is live on Athleta's digital properties. And look, we see review summarization pretty commonly now across e-commerce sites, and it serves a utilitarian purpose when you have a large volume of reviews and it's a customer experience play. But there's something that goes beyond that I think the team at Gap Inc. did well, and certainly a lot of people have a lot to be proud of, is that they captured the brand voice and brand ethos of Athleta very well. And that's a bit of diligence in training the model and making sure that you're representing in the data the right brand elements. And that comes out when you look at these reviews. So it hits the yin and yang, it hits the utilitarian benefits of summarizing reviews, giving customer most important thing very quickly, but then it also sounds like it's coming from that brand and not just a generic piece of technology out there. And if I can, I want to go maybe a few years back into my past when I was at Ahold Delhaize and mention one more example. Maybe 3 or 4 years back, we launched reviews around sustainability ratings on the PDP of products. So think a box of cereals, a bag of coffee, and it had a very simple 1, 2, 3 scale of how sustainable is that product. And why I think that was a especially compelling customer experience feature is it went beyond the usual dopamine hits that e-commerce teams are obsessed about, conversion and RPV, and it focused on lifetime value and customer satisfaction. And those are certain metrics that are very easy to overlook and forget for retailers. But when you build a feature that not only drives sales now, but also allows you to create stickier relationships with your customers, you've got a nice diversified portfolio of experiences.
That's awesome. Sarah, I'd like to hear something an experience you recently built you're particularly proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. So last summer we launched a new brand in the Fenty portfolio. We launched Fenty Hair with the mission of providing hair care for all. And a big part of the messaging was about reparative hair care and styling. And so with that, we launched a ton of content to educate customers on different looks, how to achieve those different looks, and what products to use. So this was a big, obviously in the beauty space, content is very, very important. And this was, a new addition to the site experience to deliver really enticing content to help drive conversion. And then we were able to leverage this new capability, across the full Fenty portfolio. So Fenty Beauty, Skin, and Fragrance. And we saw a lot of great engagement with that content. It was good.
Awesome.
Big lift.
All right, so we're going to move in a slightly different direction. Rob, if you could put up that one slide. This was a question we asked a couple weeks ago in a previous webinar about this idea of, everybody wants to have this novel, unique experience. And the question was, are you willing to build these even if your customers have to get familiar and you may see sales dip temporarily? And this might be a case of, it's easy to say this on a webinar, but 72% strongly or somewhat agreed that they're willing to accept a dip in sales in order to launch a really unique, novel online shopping experience, which is great. be able to take this long view. You can take that back down, Rob. But maybe, Tarek, I'll start with you. I mean, you talked about, it sounds like you're on a tear of launching new experiences on About You, in addition to, having the perspective of, running 200 websites through SCAYLE. But, what's your perspective on this idea of, are you, willing to, do something really unique and novel, even if it, may depress sales for a little bit, versus, and you can even like argue the point of this question of the versus like A/B testing your way to excellence, or however you want to put it. But what's your point of view, Tarek, on this question?
Yeah, Scott, I think both is possible. So what we are doing is so first of all, I only trust numbers, but I think you can still say yes to that question. So what happens when we run A/B tests often is that if we look on the A/B test results, we see that the new feature is performing worse than the old feature. But if you then drill it down to new visitors and existing customers, you will see that it performs worse on your existing customers and better on your new visitors, which often comes to the point that existing customers are used to a certain customer experience. So everything you introduce that is new will lead to friction. Yeah, and friction means a lowering in conversion rate. So that means that it can be rational to say, I choose the version that performs worse overall because it performs better on new customers. And then it is very likely that it just takes time on your existing customers till they basically catch up. And then the second way to look at it is the question on what are you actually looking at? Are you looking on the conversion rate of the specific session, or are you looking on cohorts? And here again, what we are seeing is often if we are introducing features that are more around engaging, that the conversion rate on the respective session goes down, but the customer is more likely to open the app again and more frequently, and therefore the revenue over time, the cohort revenue, will increase. So if you look at it on a 3-month basis, for example, it will outperform the other version, even though maybe in the session it has underperformed. So for me, the answer is always only numbers speak the truth. But I think it's the question on which numbers are you looking at. And I would always suggest to look on new customers and on cohorts over time.
Awesome. So Anshuman, I know in the prep call that you had, this was a topic that was really interesting to you. So I'm interested to hear your point of view on this.
Yeah, I've been an A/B testing evangelist for over a decade, right? And it brings so much value, and there's so many winning experiments that I'm sure all of us have been part of, and learnings from failed experiments. But there are limitations. And when you're thinking of a big quantum shift in experience, there's a possibility you might A/B test your way into it. But the limitation there is A/B testing doesn't capture always aggregation of tests effectively. You might test adding review summaries to a CDP. Great, test positive, I'm rolling it out. Larger images on the category page. Great, positive, I'm rolling it out. Floating filters, also positive. And now you've got 3 things live in production, but you've never really tested them together. Some people have figured that part out as well, but many retailers haven't. So there's some limitations when you talk about big changes and iterating your way through it. And as Tarek talked about, there's a whole lifetime value hit that A/B testing doesn't really measure well. So I found very useful to fall back on maybe qualitative measures and pre-post measures, still have some kind of rigor going into your experience change, both before and after, but not really rely on A/B testing. And I'll draw from an example at a apparel retailer I worked at in the last decade. And the imperative was, let's modernize the site. And for something as big and bold as that, there's so many elements: fonts, colors, iconography, navigation, your content. And it's hard to A/B test all of that and then make an assertion on the aggregate. So what we did instead is we created some baseline survey questions that popped up on the site. Scale of 1 to 10, how modern do you think the site is? Scale of 1 to 10, how easy was it to find what you were looking for? And we baselined all of this before we had the big bang experience change, which which was fed with a lot of qualitative research, the design itself. And when we emerged from the redesign, we looked at those survey question results, which continued to pop up to customers, and some metrics had moved up right away. How modern is the site? That had moved up 2 or 3 points. But then other things like how easy was it to find had gone down negative for probably the hypothesis that Tarek laid out. But over time, over the next few weeks and months, those inched back, some moved positive. And so net, in the span of a few months, that organization was able to reimagine their design, make it more modern, make it more efficient, with higher metrics, both hard and qualitative, without relying on A/B testing as a sole means to get there.
And Becca and Sarah, any thoughts you want to add on this idea of, a desire to have a really differentiating experience versus just, reducing friction for customers? Is that the way to look at it, or is there a different way to looking at it?
Yeah, definitely agree with Anshuman and Tarek about A/B test being really a moment in time and sort of how to leverage that when you need it and it makes sense versus what we kind of have adopted here at Coach is this just do mentality and really doubling down on things we fundamentally believe in are right for our consumer. At Coach, we are in a bit of a rebranding moment. So a lot of the consumers on our site are actually not our target consumers for the future. So how we're balancing sort of the value of an A/B test, like Tarek, mentioned, really dissecting that for the new versus existing user and by demographic is very important for us. So what we've really started doing more so, we've really focused our tests on really meaningful areas that we truly need the A/B test and things that we, fall into that just do bucket within our prioritization. We do a lot of the consumer research piece with our target customer demographics. So leveraging those more and more to be able to adapt and be really agile for, the UX that we're iterating on has become very important for us.
Anything you want to add, Sarah?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is I think it's valuable to launch a really unique experience if you feel really strongly that it further conveys or tells your brand or product story. It's worth considering, at least. However, I think we tend to, on the brand side, I think we tend to talk to ourselves a bit. And so it's so important to use your customer insights and customer data to ensure you are delivering a frictionless experience and making it really, really easy to use. I think our customers have all been trained on a very, very seamless digital shopping experience. And so adding in barriers to that, unless it's truly providing a value to your customer, is a risk that I think any brand or retailer should strongly consider.
So Becca, I want to go back to your, the just do it elements that you launch into, and ask where you get your inspiration from. And do even if you can talk about the process of how you collect inspiration. And what I mean by that is, where do you look? What do you look at? Other verticals? Do you look at automotive, insurance, beauty, any gaming, whatever it might be? I'm kind of, I think it's interesting to hear, like how much time do you dedicate to finding inspiration, and where are the places you think that you often find it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of areas. One, I'm a very digital first consumer as a person, taking myself out of my role, which is, what keeps me engaged in my role. I love it. I love shopping online. I'm, outside of work, just constantly looking at other sites. And I really try and bucket it in two different ways for the inspiration piece on like who's, doing what best that we could leverage. One, just me as a consumer, again, taking me out of the seat. I'm a working mom of two. I live in New York City. And so I could be looking online in a pinch for something to wear to work or an event, or I could be looking for a kid's bathing suit and Crocs. It's like what fits in my life. There is such inspiration across the board on some of the children's brand, and my daughter's 9 and she's Gen Alpha, and even hearing where her friends are, what they're looking at online I get a lot of inspiration from those different areas. And then leveraging my team, who is amazing, and it has very diverse shopping behaviors, and really, bringing, brands to the table all the time that I've never even heard of. So, definitely just the diversity of us as a team, I think, is really critical. And, just having the running lists of, oh my gosh, I saw this, cool checkout experience here, and I saw this amazing mobile PDP, and here's what I love about it. We've really started doubling down on a lot of that work when we were whiteboarding our PDP and PLP experiences. So I think that's honestly a big, a big part of it that we kind of try to look at as a team. And then, we've put rituals in place. How does that practically come to life at work? I think the biggest thing, which is probably the hardest part of coach, I don't know about anybody else, is we have started carving out dedicated workshop times. So we have a standing 2-hour meeting. It never changes. We all held hands with our digital product team and core e-com teams on the coach brand side. And that meeting never changes. And it's 2 hours to get together. We could be going over a roadmap for sure. We could be going over Q3 PI planning, but a lot of the time we're just brainstorming. We're looking at the site. We're looking at UX mocks. We're iterating and we're designing together. And I think having the, dedicated free space time to do that is really important. And it's so much easier to say that than to put that into place. So constantly looking with the leaders on my team at how to put more of those, into play. Last week, we just had, honestly, the first time in many years, a day where we sent the whole team out to all different stores in New York. So they spent the whole morning walking into all different stores in Soho, Williamsburg, Lower Fifth. Then they came back and they shopped those same exact brands online. And then we had a 2-hour debrief on what the core working teams found that was interesting. Were they doing it? What was so great about the physical that was missing online? I think a lot of the inspiration piece needs to come from the time to do that together, that we've tried to get better at on the coach team.
That's awesome. And you really are kind of putting your money where your mouth is. You're, not just saying you want the team to come up with new ideas, you're actually dedicating time for them to do that. So kudos, that's amazing. So I don't know, Sarah, Anshuman, Tarek, and what are your thoughts on where you get your inspiration in the process? Like Becca was saying, how there's a 2-hour meeting every week, or you're sending people out to get new ideas. How does that get institutionalized? So whoever wants to weigh in.
I can jump in. I agree with everything Becca said, so I won't repeat it, but I'll add a couple of angles. Number one, I think sporadic inspiration is great, and we all get it ourselves, our team gets it, but trying to put some kind of structure around it, that really makes it endemic. So whether it's a 2-hour recurring meeting, whether it's assignments you give your team, you could give every team member 1 or 2 brands that they follow 360 through the year, or give them a functional slice. Your search team is responsible for looking at search functionality and taking a wide aperture lens, not just retail, but looking at travel and hospitality, finance, and bringing back best practices from that. So that structure is important. And then it's hard to overstate the importance of going outside your industry, especially when it comes to digital paradigms, because a lot of them transcend industry verticals. And one of the most famous examples, there's so many, is that Tinder popularized swipe left and swipe right, and now it's ubiquitous. And it actually started with Tinder. And I remember back in 10 or 11 years back, someone on my team bringing that paradigm, and we built a fashion quiz. swipe left, swipe right to get more information about a customer's implicit likes. And now it's everywhere. You go to a cart, you swipe left to delete, you swipe right to maybe save for later. And it all started with social media dating apps. So we've got to take a wide lens to these inspiration sources.
And I would imagine when you're assigning this to the team, it's a great way to identify talent and kind of unique thinking of, in your talent that might be there that you didn't know that they had it in them in that way. So there's a lot of cool benefits that come out of this. I don't know, before I move on to the next question, Tarek or Sarah, anything else you wanted to
add? Becca, thank you for that great idea. I love that offline, online shopping experience project. I think I might have to steal that. The other platform that I would add that that we really use for inspiration is social. Across all of the different social platforms, I think that's been a key source of inspiration for a number of our functions at KENDO.
Well, so that's a good segue, Sarah, to the next topic I want to get to, which is, we've been talking about building these unique customer experiences and ones that are novel. When you have social commerce or distributed commerce, you are limited because you're working within someone else's platform, whether it's TikTok Shop or Instagram or wherever else it might be. But you had some thoughts, Sarah, on how do you maintain your brand voice? How do you do something unique when you're on someone else's platform and you're trying to sell?
Yeah, so I think what as I mentioned earlier in the beauty space, content, customer sentiment, social, how customers are engaging with our brands, with our category on social is so important to our category. And so we really view social channels as an extension of our overall brand story and brand voice. And we actually draw a lot of inspiration from how influencers, creators, consumers are talking about our brand and our products in social channels. What are creators saying on TikTok Shop, and what is driving sales. We use that as our own inspiration to really rethink how are we messaging our products, how do we message our products across across channels. Is there any inspiration for actual product development? We've instituted a new process at KENDO where, across the entire organization, as people are seeing new trends come about on various social platforms, we are looking to actually create that content ourselves, but in our own voice and our own way, and publish it out across channels. So social is really a source of inspiration and an extension of our brand experiences.
All right. Well, we have about 5 minutes left, and there's already been, some references to hyper-personalization and AI, and we know that a lot of the technology solution providers are kind of leading the charge on powering these types of functionality onto your e-commerce sites. And so I wanted to kind of wrap up to, because I think it's always important to talk about the partnership between like retailers and brands and your tech stack providers. And I don't know, maybe Becca, we could start with you of, how are you leaning on your solution providers to bring to life some of the experiences that you want and to employ some of the newer technologies that are available to us now as an industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think, that's probably what keeps us all in the digital space. It's constantly evolving and iterating, and it's, what's exciting. So the technology piece, but it's also, there's so much out there, right? So how do you sort of navigate the constant change and constant, you know, additions in the marketplace? But I think probably this group would all agree, you know, like the AI technology and being able to leverage that alongside some of the personalization and varied site experiences for different consumers landing on the site is probably the most important elements of how we can just make this site experience better and more relevant for consumers. So, you know, I would say those are probably the two most important buckets that I would know.
Anshuman, I'm sure you've had a lot of experience on partnering with your tech providers. So any thoughts there?
Yeah. One of the areas that I think the chasm between expectations and offering is probably the largest is associate experience. Let's take the marketing stack, for example, your CDP, your CMS, your DAM. Because these are associate-facing tools, how to interact with them is usually not as easy as just learning how to shop a website. You know, you've got to learn how to navigate the tool, its commands, its instructions. I think there's a big opportunity for vendors to build conversational tools that can really reduce that ramp-up time to get your marketing associates familiar with how to create a segment, an audience, a campaign with a new CDP. And then, you know, in general, I want to make the point that I think there's big opportunity for our tech partners, B2B software companies, to focus in more on the associate experience. When you think of just UX practices, they've been so matured in B2B companies for a while. B2C companies for a while. B2B companies are still catching up. So overall, I'd love to see them lean in on that. And then I think AI can unlock a lot of value on that front.
So Tarek, I'll kind of leave you with the final thought for this afternoon, for this webinar, because you are in the position of having your retail and brand clients lean on SCAYLE. And about you've been using, you know, I'm assuming some third-party software, some that you built on your own. But, you know, how do you see the partnership between technology providers and retailers to enable these better customer experiences? Like, what are some of the best models that you see?
I mean, I have a couple of thoughts on that. I mean, first on architectural, from an architectural point of view, coming as Jeff has presented, I think there was the monolithical world, kind of these legacy Salesforces, etc., where you got everything out of one box, but then you figured you can't really customize the box, and it's very difficult to connect third-party tools, which I think became more of a problem lately because there's just a need for innovation, personalization, AI tools, etc., which with a monolithical system is very difficult to implement. And then there's this microservices world where you have tons of vendors to manage, and that theoretically makes sense, but I think practically often ends up in a chaos of too many vendors, even for parts that are not differentiating. So I do believe that, talking my own book, to be honest, but I really believe that the best one can do is to have a vendor that can deliver a lot out of one suite, but still in a composable way, that you can basically define the fields where you really want to differentiate and make a difference. Because I think as a brand and as a retailer, you have a trillion problems to solve. You can't be the best in every field. So it's better to choose a couple of things and must-win battles. And then in those fields, really differentiate by picking a very specialized vendor or by putting your own developers on that specific problem. And therefore, I believe that that is the best way to make sure you have a good foundation, which is important, especially for personalization AI. You need to have a good foundation when it comes to product information, order management system. Everything needs to be in place. And then choose a couple of things where you really want to make a difference and build your USP, and take those modules out in a composable world and develop them yourself, or make it, develop them together with a specialized vendor, a specialized agency or solution integrator. Now, I think that's the best way to make sure you have a good foundation, everything works well, and on a couple of fields, you are the best in the industry.
All right, thank you for that. So we're out of time, but I want to thank all of you for inspiring our audience, giving them some great ideas. Becca, Sarah, Anshuman, Tarek, thank you so much for making some time to do this. We have our next webinar on personalization on Wednesday, March 19th. I hope I'll be back for that, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you again.